Okay, so in last few classes, we were in pipeline to understand what is dystocia, what are the causes of dystocia, okay, what is the presentation, position, and posture in case of, especially in case of large animal. Of course, in case of small animal also it is necessary to know, but in large animal you have to know the presentation, position, posture, so that you can correct and then you can make delivery or make parturition easy. So we learned in last few classes. Now we will deal with the topic, that is management of dystocia in canine. Of course, it is not separately given in your curriculum, but because in Patna, that too in our college, we are getting lots and lots of this dystocia in case of bitches. Okay, so we have to be in position to understand that separately. And if we understand this dystocia in canines and its management, it will be easy for you to handle these cases, as well as for the owners. They will also get benefited. Okay, so keeping this thing in mind, I just try to prepare something about management of dystocia in canines. So we'll start. So we'll see what are the dispositions as well. Meanwhile, the correction process will go on. Okay, so what type of management we can do once the dystocia, we diagnose that there is dystocia in canine. In last to last class, we were discussing about what are the parameters to examine a female when someone comes to you with a complaint that it's not yielding, it's not giving birth. Okay, so on what criteria you will physically examine, and once you came to a conclusion that yes, this case is dystocia, confirmed case of dystocia, so then you will start manipulating, or you can say managementing it. Okay, so first management is digital manipulation via by means of pervaginal delivery. So I will try to assist the female or bitch to, so that she can deliver the pup. Okay, so in that way, we have very limited chance of doing this. Okay, because limited chance in such a sense that in case of large animal, when you put your hand per vaginally, you can keep your hand inside, you can grab the fetus, there is a lot of space. But in case of canines, you have very limited access. Okay, because the canal is not that big, so you can use your fingers rather, entire hand, and then only you can manipulate. So until unless the fetus is almost, I mean, fetal head or any part of the fetus is out of the cervix, you cannot do much on it. So we'll see that also. Then medical management, what drugs you can prescribe, what drugs you can recommend and start for parturition, to fasten the parturition event, and then at last surgical management. So in today's class we will discuss this digital manipulation and medical management only. The surgical management is a separate class. So I'll teach you how to do surgery, especially this cesarean section in case of small animal and large animal. What are the precautions? How you will proceed on that? So that will be discussed in a separate class. So we will discuss digital manipulation and medical management. Okay. So this is how you can use a Vectis. A small instrument is there. So if you get your finger, if you are putting your finger pervaginally, and you are able to touch the head portion of the fetus, so you can use one of your finger. Okay, putting below the jaw, and then you can use a Vectis, very thin instrument over the head. Okay, and you can make a position so that you can apply traction. Okay, you look at the second diagram. Okay, so here we say vaginal, this whelping forceps. Okay, or it is called Hobday forceps. Means you are putting both the probes side to side of the head, and you are putting one of your finger beneath the jaw, just to fix the fetus. So again I am telling you these manipulation are only possible when the fetus is either within the cervix or it has came out of the cervix. Okay, because your finger is also having a limitation. And then second thing, when you are putting this Hobday forceps or any other instrument inside, you have to be very very careful that you are not rupturing, or you are not taking the vaginal skin along with the head. In most of the cases, because the area used to be so slippery, so we used to get confused that okay, what is that actual part which I have hold through the probes of this forceps. So most of the time we used to put this, the vaginal membrane also get attached with that, and then we apply pressure, and then it causes undue, hemorrhage and all. So you have to be very very sure. So put your finger around the, once you had kept the, suppose of the forceps you had kept like this, like this. Okay, so what you need to do, just to ascertain that okay, any vaginal membrane or any skin of dam is not accidentally attached to that. So what you can do, you can put your finger and you can turn it round the clock. Okay, so suppose the vaginal canal is free, so you can proceed. If suppose if vaginal canal is attached to the this Hobday forceps, then definitely you will get some sort of adhesion, like when you put when you put your finger and make it round the clock around the head, so you will get somewhere, you will get stuck. So it means that vaginal canal is also attached with the forceps, and therefore we should not pull it up. Okay, so that you have to consider a lot. Look at this. This is breech presentation. I told you breech presentation means bilateral hip flexion. Normally it is posterior presentation. Okay, presentation is posterior. So what actually it should be, the legs, these hind limbs should be extended, right? When it is anterior presentation, the head should be extended and the forelimb should be guarding it, extended and guarding the head. But now suppose it is in posterior presentation, that is okay, because as we had studied earlier, that 50% of the pups may born by in anterior presentation, and 50% maybe in posterior presentation. So that is not a big deal. But within posterior presentation, the hind limb should be extended. hind limb पीछे की ओर खींचे हुए होने चाहिए. ये क्या है, ये देखिए आप, ये एब्डोमेन के नीचे जा रहे हैं. ओके, सो दिस इज flexed, whereas these hind limb should be extended. Okay, extended. So that is how, because if it is extended, the diameter will be reduced, and the fetus will come out. But because it is flexed, so now the diameter is much more. Now the hip bone is simply attached to this pelvic brim, and it cannot, it cannot come out by natural force. Okay, what we have to do in this situation, just you first you diagnose that it is breech presentation. Then what you can do, just put your finger on the hip region of the fetus, and then provide retropulsion. Okay, means you are putting the fetus back to the uterus. Put your finger here, right here, okay, at the hip region, and push it inside. What you call it, retropulsion. So you will, so suppose hip is pushed inside, so what will happen, automatically these limbs will come out. Okay, and then you can hold the both the limbs, and you can apply gentle traction, and then the fetus will come out. Look, this is another method. When the fetus is like this, so what you can do, you can put your both the fingers, okay, guarding the neck, because the vaginal pressure is so much that normally in normal condition the forelimb should be guarding the head. Okay, means while passing through vaginal canal, the neck will not be subjected to heavy pressure because both the legs are guarding it side by side. Okay, but here definitely the forelimbs are flexed. Okay, so these are not available to guard it. So therefore, you have to put your finger side by side the neck, and then you can apply simple traction. You can swing the fetus as well. Rather than putting force straight forward, you can swing in semicircular manner. Then the yielding will be a little bit easy. Okay, you can use forceps like this. As I told you, there is much limitation to the forceps. You can use vectis. You can put your finger like downside, and then you can put vectis on the on the this region, head region, right? You can apply force, or you can fix the fetus by putting pressure through your one finger, and then you can apply vectis, and you can try a little bit. Okay, look, these are our own cases. So that's how we applied this Hobday forceps, Whelping forceps, or you can use normal one as well. So this is on posterior presentation. So just we grab the leg of the fetus, I mean hind limb of the fetus, and then applied a simple pressure, traction. Okay, look, look at this. Then second position came a little bit forward. Now this, and then finally the fetus came out. Okay, so up to now what we had seen, the pervaginal management, but you can do one more thing. While suppose the fetus is there, you can do feathering. One more technique is there. Feathering means you can put your finger inside the vagina, and you can touch cervix, and then you can make a round, you can move your finger in a round the clock position, and that stimulates the oxytocin release, and then the abdominal contraction and uterine contraction will get increased. So that is also can be done. Then, but make sure that you are not over manipulating. Over manipulation means at perivaginal area, uh, you will see inflammatory changes, and once inflammatory changes are there, then what will happen? Accumulation of inflammatory fluid, and then the space which is available will be minimized. You're getting my point? Okay, so more you manipulate, more will be the chances of pervaginal uh, inflammation. Okay, inflammation means again the space, the birth canal space will be obliterated because of the heavy edematous change and inflammatory changes. So you have to restrict yourself that yes, this much management can be done. Over that we should opt second option, that is medical management. Okay, so what you will do, there are certain steps to follow. Okay, so first step is, first of all, you will simply now forget about this pervaginal management. You have got a new case of dystocia. You diagnosed it through your anamnesis. Uh, you know what is anamnesis? Anamnesis means when you take down all these, information regarding the patient, regarding its behavior, and the time duration through which the disease is prevailed, and so many information you write in your prescription before you writing prescription, no? So that is anamnesis. So history, anamnesis, you all write in one page. So that, so once you uh, diagnosed it properly, that yes, this is a case of dystocia, the first step will be you will do per vaginal examination, physical examination, per vaginal examination by lubricated gloved finger. Make sure you are not damaging the birth canal by putting your bare hand or without lubrication. So put proper lubrication. Okay, then, second, if it is in your reach, suppose you are able to hold the head or you are able to touch the fetus properly and you can manipulate a little bit, then attempt digital manipulation as described in previous two or three slides, two or three or four slides. Okay, so you can apply these tricks to attempt upper vaginal delivery. Okay, but if it's not happening, now what can you do? First of all, you start hydrating the animal. Hydrating means, because you know animal is getting strained since hours together, right? So you don't know how many hours since it is having some labor pain or stress. So first thing is you have to ascertain certain parameters, and you get blood collection done. You send it to laboratory for the PCV and hematological examination. It is up to you also what kind of hematological examination you want to carry out, but this you have to ascertain the hydration level. So packed cell volume, then total, then you can go for MCSC and other, so many things are there, but packed cell volume is a must. Then you can ascertain total protein level, blood urea nitrogen, then total glucose, and then electrolyte, especially calcium, so that you can come to a confirmatory diagnosis that if suppose calcium level is falling below the critical level, means yes, uterine inertia is going to develop. Suppose the total protein level is less, so now you can make a decision that uh, that how much anesthesia can be given. Suppose this case is not managed by medical treatment, so how much drugs, because every drug that you are giving, it is binding with the blood proteins. Okay, so what drugs should be used, how much quantity should be used, and especially in case of operation, how much anesthesia or pre-anesthetic drugs or sedative can be used, that that is calculated based on the total protein volume. Then blood urea nitrogen, why it is important means, suppose blood urea nitrogen is very high, okay, it is abnormal. So now you can make a presumptive a kind of conclusion that kidney function is compromised. So when you are using anesthesia, the safety of anesthesia is dependent on so many factors, but one factor is that how much anesthesia is cleared by the this kidney. So if kidney function is compromised, the anesthesia will not be, the clearance of anesthesia will not be proper. Okay, and then the level of anesthesia will rise in blood. So you are giving some amount, you are thinking that after few suppose few minutes or half an hour or so, depends on upon anesthesia that you are giving. So the level of anesthesia is going down, so you will put more anesthesia, and because it is not cleared by kidneys, so level of anesthesia will rise to a fatal level, and then there may be a chance of table death. So that's why before going to perform any of the things, especially surgery, BUN and PCV total protein is must. Along with that, you can go for SGPT and SGO2. You SGOT, you can, by which you can predict the liver function as well. So liver function is also important, because you are putting so many drugs inside, and what will be the effect of these drugs, whether these liver is in position to handle these drugs, because the liver has to detoxify it. So that everything you have to calculate before giving any medication, or before putting the animal for surgery. So that's why these parameters are very very important. Everything is written here, but you can add SGPT, SGOT. Okay, depends upon the economy. You have to think about the economy of the owner as well. Okay, so suppose he is not able to pay these much, so you can skip one or two tests, but these are very very essential. Okay, after blood collection and sending it for laboratory test, now you can the IV catheter is placed. Now you can start extensive fluid therapy. You have to calculate, depends upon uh, the body weight of the animal, and you start putting fluids. So simple NS, DNS, or RL, or mix of DNS and RL. Okay, anything can be given. So that is your choice, especially when you are doing the thing, it is your choice which fluid is needed. Okay. Now you can, yes, now you can go for abdominal radiograph, you can go for ultrasonography. So ultrasonography will tell you that whether the animal, fetuses are live or not. So by heart rate, you can ascertain that yes, viability is there. And again, it is important, I'm telling you. Why? Because when you proceed for operation, when you proceed for this cesarean section, then again at that time you have to avoid certain drugs which are not good, which actually affects the fetal respiration rate or fetal vital organs. Okay, so then you have to change your this anesthesia protocol, right? So that you have to see that the fetuses are live or not. Okay, and then by radiograph you can understand, let's just like letter size. Okay, four fetuses are there or five fetuses are there, so that you can ascertain by obtaining the radiograph. But still you cannot be sure that yes, four are visible, so only four is there. You cannot tell the owner like this, because sometimes the overridden, I told you, no, like if the fetuses are dead, then it will be overridden, means parallel to each other. So you may not be able to appreciate that there is two fetal heads. Normally we count fetal heads, right? So you count, you did count four fetal heads, but there may be five. So you cannot be 100% sure. You cannot simply start chest thumping that yes, four fetuses are there. Okay, just make sure that you are giving a range. Now, after getting these examination done, and you have to, in anamnesis you have to ask whether any one or two fetus has delivered or not, or do you have the owner seen this any fluid discharge? Okay, greenish, dark greenish, or normal light pink, any kind of discharge. So what it will tell, suppose owner said that yes, he or she has seen the greenish discharge, or pinkish normal discharge, means the cervix is open. Or he or she says that yes, it has delivered one pup 2 or 3 hours or 4 hours back, so now you will be sure that yes, the cervix is open. So once you, and then if suppose they say that they have not observed any fetus coming out, or there is no such discharge, now you have to put your finger inside the vaginal canal, and you have to make yourself confirm that yes, the uh, cervix is open. Until and unless the cervix is open, you cannot go for this oxytocin. Okay, because what it will do, it will stimulate the uterine contraction. Okay, so at one end the uterine contraction is started, and then another end, I mean it is propelling outside, and then the cervix is closed. What will happen? The fetus will develop some bead like characteristic. I mean, the, you know how the fetuses are arranged in a uterine tube. Okay, uterine horn. So it is a long horn, so three or four fetuses are there, so one after one is there. So in between two fetuses you will see some gap. So once you give an oxytocin and the cervix is closed, so contraction will be there. So the, uterine horn, which is just over to the fetus, will stick to the fetus, and in between, when there is gap between two fetuses, it will constrict much more. So it will give you appearance like a bead. माला होता है ना, माला में जैसे दाने मन के होते हैं, तो उसी तरह से एक बीड लाइक अपीयरेंस आपको मिलेगी, उसको बोलते हैं बेंडल्स रिंग डिस्टोकिया. So it is very common in human beings as well, and in case of animals, especially in case of canines. So you have to sure that yes, the cervix is open. Okay. Now you can, once the cervix is open, you ascertain that yes, cervix is open. Now you can administer low dose of oxytocin. You should be because you are starting, so better you go with this fluid. You go with IV. Of course it is written IM and SC, but in our condition we simply give IV fluid, so that the effect will be very fast. And then while giving the oxytocin, you have to count the fetal rate. I mean, if suppose the ultrasound is there, I mean inbuilt, so you can count the heart rate. Okay, even you can count the heart rate of mother as well by putting your stethoscope. Okay, so first you had given maximum 3 IU, then you wait for 40 minutes, around 40 minutes, and then suppose nothing came out. Now you can provide calcium gluconate. Okay, so the dose rate is given 0.5 to 1.5 milligram per kg body weight. Okay, and very slow, very slow. It should be very slow, because you know the as and when you give calcium, what it does, it causes tachycardia, isn't it? So sometime when the tachycardia goes beyond the limit, it is very very fatal. If you give rapid bolus of calcium through IV, okay, so it causes tachycardia and instant death, cardiac arrest. What you say? Cardiac arrest. So because the heart movement is diastolic systolic, so once it is contracting, another time it is expanding. Okay, so for contraction, between contraction and expansion, it takes a little time. Okay, when you give calcium, especially rapid bolus, so what happens, tachycardia develops, and the time gap between the uh, you know uh, contraction and expansion will be minimized, so that you try to imagine that, do you see your, can you count your the blade of your ceiling fan? So you can count when it is in stop position. I mean, you are not it is not on. So once you put it on, once you had kept this, I mean, the ceiling fan is moving, now you cannot count the number of blades. Okay, because it is moving. So the same thing happens to this as well. So the contraction and relaxation goes in such a way that the heart become non-functional, and there is a chance of cardiac arrest. So that's why you can give calcium, but it should be given very very slow. Okay, so along with the calcium, you can use oxytocin. We had given 5 IU at a time. Okay, IV. So without any difficulty. So you also can administer this much of amount, but it is very wise that you can give 4 or 5 IU at a time and wait for 40 minutes. Okay, because the half life of oxytocin is very less. So if you put entire, look, it is calculated that for any dog you cannot exceed more than 20 IU oxytocin. Okay, so if so wait. So okay, so what we are discussing that yes, you can give maximum of 20 IU amount, but because half life is very less, so it is better that you can give in fractions. Means you can give 4 or 5 IU at a time and wait for 30 to 40 minutes. Again, you can give, so that sustained contraction will be maintained. Okay. So you are giving 2 or 3 dose, you can give even 4 dose you can give. Okay, so you can give 4 dose at a period of 30 to 40 minutes each. And suppose you have came across, I mean, you had given 20 IU in 4 or 5 shots. Now you cannot give more of oxytocin. Okay, you can give infusion as well as it is written, direct drop by drop, or you can give shots. It's your wish. Okay, but after 4 shots or 5 shots, when that limit is reached and still there is no delivery, so now you straight away go for cesarean section. Definitely there is some maybe abnormal position is there, something is there which is hindering, so now you cannot put much pressure, and therefore straightforward you can go for cesarean operation. Okay, so just it is written that how much dose of oxytocin can be given. Okay, so the same thing it is written which I told you, that it's better if you give small shots of oxytocin. Okay, and you can maintain a gap of 30 to 40 minutes, it will be very good. Okay, so this oxytocin calcium carbonate this gluconate therapy is intended for uterine inertia treatment. Okay, because in case of dog you will see the major cause of canine dystocia is maternal. Within maternal it is uterine inertia, let it be primary or secondary, but both collectively the major cause of canine dystocia is this uterine inertia only. So what treatment I had given or I had prescribed here is for uterine inertia only, but the cervix is open. Okay, so especially secondary. Okay, so you can go up to the 20 IU as I told you, and if it is not, then you can go straight forward to cesarean operation. Right now, let me justify why oxytocin is given, why calcium is given, and what more can be given. Okay, so oxytocin, as you know, it provides contraction to the uterus, so that's why we had given. Calcium means again it is good for contraction, muscle contraction need this calcium. Okay, calcium is a kind of rate limiting, so if calcium deficiency is there, then you provide any stimulus, even oxytocin also it won't work because calcium level are below the critical level. Okay, needed level. Now along with that you can give multivitamins, especially by vitamin B complex. Okay, look back your books of biochemistry where glycolysis and Krebs cycle and every, especially in case of Krebs cycle, you see FAD, NAD, some vitamin B precursors are used. Okay, for energy generation. So we are giving DNS, so dextrose is there. Okay, we are giving calcium, we are giving oxytocin. Everything is for muscle contraction. Okay, but we are giving dextrose. So what will happen? The energy will be utilized by means of glycolysis, Krebs cycle, everything you know. Okay, and then finally ATP will be generated for the muscle contraction. But for this ATP generation, you need calcium, you need some vitamin B complex precursors. Okay, so that's why we provide everything for to facilitate muscle contraction, like calcium. Okay, then energy source, that is dextrose. Then sometime we use D20 or D25 as well. Okay, then we provide vitamin B complex, so that the entire Krebs cycle or entire energy generation unit will work normally, and then ATP will be generated. Then calcium is also there, oxytocin as stimulant is also there, so that will function and muscle contraction will be at maximum or at optimum. So that's why it can, so that it can propel fetus. Okay, so this is regarding the management of dystocia in case of canine. First, pervaginal management. Second, medical management. So surgical management by means of CS and all will be discussed in next coming classes. Okay. So
कैल्शियम कितना देंगे?
हाँ जी,
कैल्शियम का डोज कितना देंगे सर?
कैल्शियम का डोज अगेन डिपेंड करता है, कैल्शियम की डोज के लिए आपको कैलकुलेट करना पड़ेगा बॉडी वेट से, बट कैल्शियम के लिए जो वेट